Why Japanese pilots did kamikaze in WWII? By late 1944, Japan's imperial forces were on the defensive across the Pacific, outmatched in industrial capacity and losing critical air superiority to the Allies. US carriers and warplanes roamed the skies, submarines choked off vital shipping lanes, and relentless bombing hammered the Japanese home islands. Facing a dire resource shortage and mounting defeats, Japanese strategists turned to a desperate strategy: the Tokotai, or Special Attack Forces, more commonly known as kamikaze missions. In these operations, pilots would deliberately crash their aircraft, packed with explosives, into enemy ships, intending to inflict maximum damage in a single self-sacrificial blow. While shocking to Allied sailors, kamikaze missions had roots in Japan's wartime culture and belief systems that elevated dying for the emperor as the highest form of honor. One important factor was the deeply ingrained code of Bushido, adapted from the samurai ethos, which emphasized unwavering loyalty, sacrifice, and the virtue of a warrior's honorable death over surrender or capture. As Japan's military leadership recognized the overwhelming might of Allied production, they hoped this spiritual fervor, believing that a single pilot could strike more effectively by giving his life, would offset the enemy's numerical and technological advantages. These attacks, official propaganda claimed, showed Japan's unbreakable will, the so-called Yamato Damashi, or Japanese fighting spirit. Rather than gradually succumb to defeat, the Tokotai approach aimed for decisive, morale-breaking assaults on Allied fleets, forcing a negotiated peace or at least buying time for fortifications at home. Young cadets trained in this environment of heightened devotion. Many had been raised from childhood on patriotic tales, venerating the emperor as a near-divine figure. By the time they reached flight schools, daily indoctrination painted suicide missions as not just acceptable but laudable, an ultimate display of loyalty. Some pilots volunteered, spurred by national pride, camaraderie, and the intense social pressure against refusing such duty. Others felt cornered, with Japan's losses mounting. Rejecting a kamikaze assignment risked accusations of cowardice that could shame one's family. While a handful of accounts suggest reluctant acceptance of this fate, most official records and post-war interviews reveal a mixture of zeal, resignation, and fear. Tactically, kamikaze strikes initially posed a genuine threat to Allied ships. A single diving plane could blow a large hole in a destroyer or knock out vital flight decks on carriers. But over time, the Allies adapted. Radar picket lines alerted defensive gun crews earlier, and improved fighter patrols intercepted many kamikazes before impact. Crucially, each kamikaze mission cost Japan an irreplaceable pilot and aircraft. As US Day, shipyards churned out more vessels and planes, the Tokotai's strategy became unsustainable. Despite isolated successes, kamikazes could not stem the tide of Allied superiority in the final year of the war. Yet the legacy of kamikaze missions endured well beyond 1945. Survivors who trained but never flew a final sortie often spoke of conflicting emotions, patriotic fervor against an instinctive will to live. Many families revered these pilots as fallen heroes, while others questioned the militarist leadership that manipulated youthful devotion into suicide attacks. Internationally, kamikaze missions remain emblematic of Japan's desperation in WWII's last stages. They underscore how a rigid code of honor, coupled with near-hopeless circumstances, can propel a nation to unleash tactics that shock the world and leave behind a sobering reminder of the extremes war can foster. Subscribe to Legends of the Battlefield for more revealing perspectives on history's pivotal conflicts and the mindsets that shape them.